welcome to our Earth Day Livestream Event. Today, we come together to honor the beauty and diversity of this planet that we call home. April 22nd has been Earth Day for the past 53 years. It started as a call for a regeneration of a polluted environment and has since come to focus on climate change. Through this event, we hope to deeply reflect on this occasion and explore how we can cultivate greater wisdom and compassion towards the earth and all its inhabitants. We are honored to have Magyu Lopön Charlotte Rotterdam and Pieter Oosthuizen as our teachers for this virtual gathering. Lopön Charlotte is a senior teacher, meditation instructor, and contemplative educator. She received the title of Magyu Lopön, lead teacher of the mother lineage at Tara Mandala by Lama Tsultrim Allione in 2016. She is the director of the Center for the Advancement of Contemplative Education at Narepa University. Pieter Oosthuizen is a senior teacher and a long-time student of Tibetan Buddhism. He has been teaching various practices and retreats in Lama Tsultrim's lineage since 2006. He serves as the president of the Tara Mandala board. Lopön Charlotte and Pieter teach in the US and abroad, offering a blend of incisive insight and genuine compassion, and co-lead the Boulder Tara Mandala Sangha. They live outside of Boulder, Colorado, with their sons, Mateo and Milan. May their wisdom and guidance inspire us to deepen our practice and commitment to creating a more sustainable and compassionate world. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Lopön Charlotte Rotterdam and Pieter Oosthuizen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dreame, for that beautiful introduction. And hello to everyone. It's wonderful to be here, to be together on this incredible Earth Day. Charlotte and I are in the mountains, the Rocky Mountains above Boulder, Colorado right now, and it is snowing outside. Snowing in April. It snowed all night, and it's still snowing, and it's beautiful and very inspiring just to look out the window. And so maybe let's say hi.
Yes, just hello everyone. It's really wonderful to be with you, and especially on this theme of Earth Day. I was thinking Mother's Day is coming up, but really Earth Day is the penultimate Mother's Day because we're all honoring our shared mother, which is Mother Earth. So it's really wonderful to be with you all.
So let's take a moment to raise our motivation for this time together and also for this day. And so just take a moment and relax right where you are, the space where you find yourself, simply coming present in this very moment. And just relaxing into the spaciousness of this moment, right here, right now. And then from that place, we raise the motivation to have a good meeting, but also the motivation to engage and endeavor for the earth to connect with the earth, and that there may be benefit for the entire planet and for all the beings on this planet. And then before we go back to talking more, let's just do a gentle acknowledgement of everyone on this feed right now, just a gentle inner bow to acknowledge this web from all over the world that we make, that we weave through showing up here together. And that connection, that net, that benefit may radiate out from that. to all beings everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a few of you have already said hello in the chat and want to invite anyone else to say hello in the chat. And maybe, we often say, where are you from? Which I see we have many parts of the world represented already. But maybe think of it where you are in terms of nature. Like we are in a forest, a high mountain forest, looking out, as we said, at snow and beautiful rock outcroppings. So if you didn't know the name of the place where you are, where would you say you are? And maybe that way we can also generate some images of all the different parts of the earth that are represented here in your presence today.
Yeah, and you can mention where it is. It's always so beautiful to see where people are,
Mm-hmm. Blackhawk, Colorado. You're just down the road from us.
So close.
We're in Netherlands.
That is so close from us right now.
So,
this crested butte.
Oh, they are snow-peaked mountains.
That's Monica. We're recognizing some names here from old friends.
And Ellen Woods of rural North Carolina. Oh, that's wonderful. Rocky coast of Maine and the ocean.
Martha. Wow, beautiful.
Central Valley. Wonderful. So I'll keep talking, but please share more. And so in line with this, what we'd like to do today is talk a little bit about sacred land and land or earth as teacher. And what does that mean? How is that played out in our own lives? And we invite you to think about earth as teacher in your own life and in your experience. So we thought first to perhaps share a few stories with you from our time living at Tara Mandala. So in 2004, we moved to Tara Mandala for 4 years. And this was a time when Tara Mandala was very wild still. Those of you who've been to the land recently know there's this phenomenal temple. We have a beautiful community building, a residence hall, and such beautiful spaces in which we can gather and take care of ourselves. But when we moved there were no buildings at all. There was no running water. There was no initially electricity. So we lived in a sort of, you could say, a cabin or a wooden yurt. And beneath Ekajati, which is the central sort of sacred mountain, you might say, of Tara Mandala, and a big field, the Kapala Meadow, where all the teachings would take place under a tent. And so when we moved to this little yurt, we had, it was just one little space. We had a bed and we had a wonderful wood stove that kept us warm all winter, so warm that we'd have to open the doors in the middle of the winter because it would get so hot inside. But it was a very, very simple life, as you can imagine. And I guess two things that I remember, well, I remember so much, but that I want to share with you, was one, the sense of time that changed, that being so close to land and to earth changed my sense of human time. Human time is very regulated because we have electricity and we can have light in the middle of the night and we can get up whenever we want, and heat and cold. And we sort of make our world, our timed world, however we want. But when you live that close to nature and you don't have electricity, by 8 o'clock, I think, well, it would get dark at maybe 7:30 in the winter. Then we would sit there with a candle and we would just talk, and we would sit and talk for an hour, 2 hours, and then we'd go to bed early. And that sense of the rhythm of time, I remember going out always right before we went to bed and looking at the sky and looking at the moon and the stars. And I realized when we left Tara Mandala and I came back to Boulder, one day I was putting my son to bed and I looked out the bedroom window and I saw the moon, and I started to cry because I said, oh, I don't even know the phases of the moon anymore. From Tara Mandala, every night I knew, was the moon waxing? Was it waning? And that sense of some vaster, longer, more spacious sense of time that isn't what I make it to be, what I want it to be, but just what is and what's holding all of us. me, my family, the animals, the trees. And there's some quality of resting that happened during that time at Tara Mandala, of resting in the natural world, a kind of trust in it. And I'll share just one more story, and then I know you have some great ones too. I remember using the trees, or calling on the trees as my teachers often when I would get stressed about work, because we were co-executive directors at Tara Mandala. And so, figuring out the organization, and then I would find the stress arise in me. Did I do the budget right? Did we invite the right person? Did we schedule this? Which email did I not write? And so forth. And then I would look out at the trees, and there they would be just standing. And I thought, the trees don't care if I write that email. They don't care if the budget is this or that. And it's not caring in a bad way. It's the not caring of not taking my story so seriously. That fundamentally there's some basic okayness that we can tap into. And the trees were like my teachers in that. It's okay. We'll be here. If the budget is good, not so good, it's okay. We are here. So for me, these teachings of nature on that spaciousness of time and that basic okayness were really profound and continue to be.
Yes, I remember those days at Tara Mandala. I just saw Corinne mentioned here that she has a view of the La Plata Mountains, and she's in Bayfield, Colorado, and that is so close to Tara Mandala, to where we were. In fact, the view from this cabin Charlotte was talking about was out the view to the west. You could see Chimney Rock, which is this beautiful formation in the foreground, and then you could see the La Plata Mountains, probably 60 or more miles away, and this incredible wilderness in between. Couldn't see any lights or anything from that view at Tara Mandala. No roads with cars going. It was quite unique in terms of just how wild it was, and still is, really. I remember, it's like living. Those of you who live in wild places or who spend a lot of time in wild places, there's an attunement, I think, that happens where we slow kind of down, and then there's this feeling of this vaster intelligence that we are obviously completely a part of, but that we sometimes forget as we get caught up, and preoccupied with our daily lives. But there's this vast intelligence. I remember when at night, the night sky, because there was so little light pollution there, the stars were so incredibly bright, to the extent where we really started, we borrowed a telescope from a friend, and we started looking again at the constellations and learning about the northern hemisphere night sky. But I remember, this is maybe more what we want to talk about today, is how do we connect with nature? Of course, fundamentally, we are completely connected because we arise from the same ground. It's the same nature that expresses through us, is nature, and is expressing through nature. But I remember at Tara Mandala, because we didn't have a bathroom inside, we had an outhouse outside, and so if you wake up at night and needed to go to the bathroom, you have to get up, and I had a down coat by the door and these big sorrel boots that I could just slip in, and I wouldn't even put on any other clothes, just this jacket and these boots. And then you open the door and you step out, and it's, the winter would be just 10 degrees Fahrenheit, in the middle of the night, and you just have this vast black night sky in the wilderness of Colorado. And I'd go out on the deck to go to the bathroom. And in the beginning, I remember, you know, because it's in the middle of the night, and you just want to go back to bed, and everything is so vast out there and kind of intimidating. And the first few times that I did that, you know, because at the time, you know, I'd go out almost every night, somewhere in the middle of the night. I kind of shrunk away from, it's too much to deal with. You know, I come out of warm bed, dreams, and then I step out in this cold, vast night. And I would feel myself kind of contract and just kind of do my business as quickly as possible, and then sort of slink back into the room and just go find refuge in the warm bed. But then at some point, I felt like, why am I so, you know, and I noticed that I was sort of like not wanting to engage or deal with this vast space. And so I told myself to just relax and open to this vastness. And from that day onwards, when I go outside, I would, you know, you also, when it's cold, you also tend to want to do this and contract. But I would just relax completely, and I would open into the space. And it turned out to be one of my favorite things at night, to have this experience of direct connection with the vastness of the natural world, and to not be intimidated by that, to not be different, but to actually relax into that vastness. And so it became a really beautiful teaching for me.
Thank you. So maybe we can, before we keep going here, just take a moment, and so many of you have shared the beautiful places you are in, trees and rain and beaches. And so let's just take a moment and really feel where you are right now. And if you have access to seeing a window, what do you see out the window, whether it's sky or trees or earth? If you're in a city, I grew up in New York City, there's still earth. That's still earth. So see earth. See the natural world that is just outside your space. And for a moment, just let it speak to you. Be with it. Let your presence and the presence of earth, in whatever form she takes right now where you are, let yourselves just be together. So there's always some deep quality of refuge that arises for me when I just tune in this case, to the trees and the snow coming down and the rocks outside. And there's so many connections we can make between our Dharma practice and the Dharmic teachings and the natural world. And just right off the bat, you know, the sense of what's our ultimate refuge is the ground of being. And so in some way, on a very relative level, we can take refuge in that ground that is earth, that is nature. And sometimes it means there's a bit of a stillness, right? We have to listen more. Sometimes nature is not as loud as the car is honking, or certainly as our own minds or my mind. So it takes a kind of listening. But this idea of earth as teacher is something that goes back to eons and eons, the beginning of human history, really, and all traditions having some sense of land as sacred. Land as sacred. And it's interesting, I'm with you today because it makes me think, I did my my master's thesis on sacred land, and specifically sacred mountains in different traditions, spiritual traditions, as a way of understanding or coming into an environmental ethic based on land as sacred, not land as resource, and how can we save our resources of land so that we can, keep living, hopefully, as a species. But how could our environmental ethic, meaning our way of caring for this planet, arise from a sense of the sacredness, the inherent worthiness, the inherent value of the natural world? And so, again, traditions, across the world and across time have appreciated the land itself as sacred, that where you are, quite literally on earth, can connect you. So what does sacredness mean? What do we mean by, why is one tree a tree and this tree is sacred? What does that mean? Ultimately, everything is sacred, right? That's the Vajrayana view of sacred world. Everything is sacred. Even the city sidewalk. That too is nature. But here, let's think about that sacredness of, let's say, a sacred mountain or a sacred tree. So traditionally, the image often is that a sacred mountain connects us. It aligns us. It aligns the underworld, the depth of perhaps not knowing, or whatever tradition has a sense of underworld, with the earth as we know it, with lived human reality, and to the heavens, to that sense of something vaster than ourselves, that vastness Peter was talking about in space, or in theistic traditions of some sense of divinity. And that a sacred place, a mountain, a tree, any spot, is almost like everything lines up. And we feel that connection going right through our bodies. That our body, right, as earth, as sacred, is deeply aligned with the divine, with all beings, and completely integrated in itself. And so I think what this view of sacred land and sacred earth really invites us to also is a felt experience of interconnectedness. In that alignment of a sacred mountain or a sacred place, we know we are not separate. We cannot be alone. We cannot be alone. This is one of the most beautiful teachings of nature and of the earth. And I'll make a little plug. This is Charlotte speaking, a little plug for solitary retreat in nature. If you can ever do anything like that, it is one of the most beautiful experiences. And I try to do it every year on the mountain behind our house. And this working with aloneness and interconnectedness is so phenomenal, because sometimes initially there's a sense of, oh my goodness, I'm all alone. Peter and the boys are down there and my friends, and I can look down, I can see the cars and I see people moving, and I'm all alone here under this tree. What am I doing? I must be crazy. And then over time, usually it takes a day or 2 days, something opens. I listen more. I see more. I hear more. I feel more. And I begin to see the little ants crawling every morning from the stone underneath my blanket up the ponderosa tree that I'm leaning on. I hear the doves in the evening. I see the dragonflies coming and the way they land in the branches with their wings outstretched like a Christ figure. And suddenly the whole world begins to open. And I recognize my fundamental not aloneness. I am so not alone. I am profoundly connected to all beings, the tiniest ones, the biggest ones, the tree. And so that, can we learn? Can we come to nature and learn in that way, that interconnectedness, which all the Dharmic teachings, as you all know, hold at the very core? Maybe I'll say just one more thing, which is I've been thinking a lot about intimacy. And intimacy, I mean very much at the physical level, the way we are intimate with ourselves, with other human beings, and with our world. Trungpa Rinpoche, he in one of his pieces, he says, we can make love to the world. We can make love to the world. And what he means there is that when we open our perceptions, when we open ourselves, we realize the profound intimacy and connection that we can experience. So when the wind comes on your face, let that wind kiss your face. When the rain comes down, as many of you are in rain right now, feel it as a rain of blessings, or the snow, or feel the toughness of the bark of the tree. Smell it. Put your nose in it. There's a way we can, with the elements, become so intimate that we embody that non-separateness with the world around us. So I invite us on this Earth Day, make love to the world. Make love to the earth with your body, with all your senses, and love fiercely. You'll remember a few months ago, I had a whole teaching on love more fiercely. When in doubt, when things are breaking, when it feels like our world is changing and we're losing what we love most, don't detract. Don't get contract. Don't get small. Love more fiercely. Make love even deeper. So that's my little sharing.
What she conveniently left out about the meditation retreat under the tree is that I went up there one night to resupply her, and we were visited by a bear. And it sounds cute and romantic, but in the middle of the night, when there's a massive black bear, 20 meters maybe from us, aggressively demolishing water jugs that we had left under a tree in which we had hoisted our food. At that point, I wouldn't have minded feeling a little more alone, and have him move on. But it's this magical experience, right, of this intensity of the presence of that animal, and contemplating how much stronger he is, than us, and this is sort of sobering and enlivening at the same time. So it's just
and to be a little afraid in nature, I think, is a good thing, because we are so not in charge ultimately. So it's a very good teaching.
In terms of my story about going out on the deck in those cold, starry winter nights and really opening to the vastness of the sky and the forest and connecting with nature, I think one could say the primary practice of Vajrayana is really resting in the nature of mind, abiding in the nature of mind, our own, very own nature that connects us to everything, and all phenomena are arising out of the same ground. The radiance of this ground is what appears to us as all, apparent phenomena. And so our practice in general is to relax and let go of the habitual boundaries of the self and really extend into that vastness that is really our own nature, right? Our own inheritance. And but they're in a relative level, and so we connect, and that includes all phenomena. It doesn't distinguish between buildings and grass and cars and trees. All things are arising out of the ground, but there is something about nature that is so healing, so raw, unmediated, that in that alignment Charlotte was talking about, that it is a beautiful way for us to connect So of course we connect with nature in terms of our activism and, basically saving our planet and being a part of that. The easiest or most basic way is to really connect, and from that place we have discernment about the environment and about taking care of our place and so forth. So on a relative level, there's all of that, but then there's also for us to connect with nature as a doorway into that experience of our own nature and the vastness of it. So, and I think, as I said, I think it's easier to connect because there's this primordial, raw, unprocessed, unmediated directness of that vast intelligence of nature. It's older than us, it feels like, and it's older than many processed things and phenomena that we see around us, that came through the iteration of mechanics and tools and so forth over civilizations. So we can connect with nature because we are part of it, and I want to invite you, like Charlotte said, anywhere where you have a patch of grass, if you're in a town or in a city, take your shoes off next time and next few days. When you're out there and you notice the grass, just take your shoes off and scrumple your toes in there and just imagine that you are connecting. Feel that connection. Touch a tree and just become one with the tree, and I think oftentimes, especially nowadays with so much degradation, in the environment, when we there's so many mixed feelings that we may have about our relationship with the natural world, so sometimes here we have a sunny, warm day in the middle of the winter, and it's sort of I find myself enjoying the warmth, but there's also a side of me that's like, this is not normal. Why is it shouldn't be so warm in December, and so it's sort of this mixed feeling, or we have beautiful sunny days, and then there are fire warnings here because it's so dry, so it's becoming, because of these events, fire and flood and earthquake and tornado type events that has been happening seemingly more and more all around the world, we can find ourselves being torn a little bit, having mixed feelings about our connection with nature. And I want to invite us to reconsider that, and that when we connect, like in meditation, when we connect, we come home to the present moment. And in that moment, we abide, completely surrendered. We're not preoccupied with conflict of environmentalism versus capitalism, or any of these isms that we feel is straining our world. We are actually aligning, harmonizing with the natural world. And from that place, in that place, we rest. And I believe that connection, that kind of rest and expanding out into the world, is a kind of a peacemaking, is a kind of a healing, and is a kind of a contribution that we can make to all these issues. On a daily basis, we don't exit and escape and saying, I'm not going to recycle this bottle, I'm just going to rest in the vastness of nature. That's not what I mean. In the relative sense, we continue doing our part. And more for those of you who are involved in more specific activism and so forth. And so, of course, we have discernment about what's good to do and what's not good to do, and we bring our part, But somewhere we have to rest and be okay, and contribute to the larger healing sense of this plan. Perhaps we are moving into, from a certain point of view, it looks like we just heading towards a wall, environmental catastrophe. It's happening all around us. Easy to convince ourselves that, there's not so much hope for the earth. And, of course, the earth is massive. And, so we can easily, the earth has tremendous intelligence, and the earth has incredible resiliency in creativity and all of that. It's so maybe, instead of thinking that we're heading for this wall, is it possible that we can evolve into a new paradigm that is beyond what we may even be able to easily imagine at this point, of some kind of new paradigm of harmony where it does turn out to be okay, and we do survive on this planet, and the planet survives, in some beautiful way. And I don't know specifically what this is, but maybe, so that's maybe just a little bit of a way of considering the future in a more positive light. But maybe more importantly is what we do in the moment. And in the moment, when we connect with the planet and with nature and relax into that, we are coming home in that moment, and there's nothing else to do right there than to just be present and be one with and relax. That is the way we experience. That's the nature of things as they are, rather than the way we want them to be. Because we surrender all our ideas and our hopes and our fears in that moment, and we are just there present. I find, like, sometimes when maybe you can identify, you're out in a beautiful, beautiful place, like amazing. You've traveled a long way to go there. You're in this amazing place. And there's sometimes, let's say it's out in nature, and there's sometimes this wistful, almost like a reverse nostalgia, like a future nostalgia that happens in that moment where you feel like, I'm here, but I'm probably going to leave. And there's some grasping that happens in that. You want to feel this, you want to experience this and make the most of this. But there's at the same time, there's this knowledge that it's not always going to be here, or you're going to leave the end of your vacation or your weekend. And so you grab your camera and you take photos as much, because you want to capture that feeling of the sacred or that experience. But another choice, another option is just surrender to that space, become one with it, relax. Charlotte and I led a trip to Peru a few years ago, and we would go to these incredible sites. Machu Picchu, for example, you think of the archaeological aspect of it, but the natural aspect of it is incredible.
Sacred places, sacred land.
Where it's built is almost more stunning than the place. The place, those of you who've been there, the place is kind of a celebration of the environment. It's like a monument to that place. And so you cannot stand there and look at the buildings without being overwhelmed by the power of that place. And so what do you do with that? How many photos do you take? And our practice was, let's sit and we would relax into open awareness and be there, completely present in that moment. And it would just feel like the best thing, the best way to experience that space and that place, and to the best way to have it remain with us without trying to capture it, surrendering that propensity to try and capture or make it mine or save it or any of those things. Not like, and those things are wrong, but they get us tied up into these, conflicting feelings and mixed feelings. So the invitation, I think, is just rest into nature. And once you rest in nature, then include everything, because all phenomena arises out of the ground. And we can liberate a little bit from the conflict nature is all good and everything people build is all bad, for example. That's a common paradox or tension that we may fall into. So when you use nature as the gateway and become one and have that healing experience and feel like it's not one way, it's not just you sucking in nature to try and heal yourself. It's a symbiosis. It's connecting, and that awareness that comes out of that connecting is healing for everything and everyone. And then from that place, expand to include absolutely everything, even everything that humans have wrought, without judgment, in that meditation. And maybe we will do a little bit of an exercise to do something like that.
Yes, we'd love to invite you to a meditation. But just before that, I want to say, offer an invitation to each and every one of you.
We're really excited about this.
Some of you coming from afar, but we've spoken some about Tara Mandala. And Tara Mandala really is sacred land. Adzim Rinpoche called it the body of Tara. And so the sense of walking on the land as itself a form of practice and of teaching. And those of you who've been there, I think will know that when you do retreat there, when you come to teachings there, there's all of the content that we do as humans, which is wonderful. And then there's the experience of just being there, walking there, sleeping there, waking up there, going to sleep there. So we had a vision, coming out of those years of living there, and then developing this work that I think many of you know, called Skymind, which draws on the teachings of Magyu Lopön from the 11th century, which are really teachings on the nature of mind, this fundamental ground of being, the wholeness that we are, always inextricably. She has these profound teachings sort of pointing out pith instructions. And so we wanted to bring those teachings of Magyu to the land of Tara Mandala. And this was in 2019, 2020. We said, let's do a retreat on the land in the old way, where we do the teachings outside. For those who want to camp, they can camp outside. We'll do an overnight, and we'll study these teachings on the nature of mind from Magyu in and on this sacred land. Well, then COVID came. And so we said, do we cancel it or should we put it online? And so we made it an online course, which was wonderful. We had over 100 people the first year from all over. Out of that came a book that we're writing now on Skymind. But now this coming summer, we are going to have our Skymind retreat on the land of Tara Mandala in July 21st through 26th. And so, as I said, we'll study the teachings of Magyu. We'll do a lot of practice with the elements outside, and it'll be a time to really learn from land, the sense of sacred land and sacred view at the same time. So I hope many of you will be able to join us. It'll be really special.
Yeah, it's based on the early days that we had at Tara Mandala, when we were telling you about living in that cabin and those beautiful nights and so forth. There was not a lot of infrastructure on the land. It was before this, Lama Tsultrim built this amazing temple in Dave, and before even the community building was there and so forth. So the teachings, as Charlotte said, were out in this big meadow with a tent, and the wind would come up in the afternoons, and sometimes it would rain, and we'd buckle down or put the sides up, but you would be out in the elements, meditating and engaging with the Dharma. And this retreat was conceived of as going back to, in a way, into those days. There's really doing retreat on the land, and we'll do. Did you mention the overnight?
No, I didn't.
So we'll do. Do you want to say something about it?
Well, we'll do an overnight outside for those who would like. It's not required, obviously. If you know the Chö practice, you could do Chö all night long. Or you can just be outside all night long. We'll have a central place with a fire that will be kind of our home base. And then from there, you can go as far or stay close to the fire all night. And that's a very profound practice of being in nature.
Wherever you are in the world, this we're not just talking to the locals here. Wherever you are in the world, this is a pilgrimage destination to come to the land of Tara Mandala and the wilderness there of that part of Colorado and to engage. So don't count yourself out, if you're on a different continent or something. Imagine being together in person and actually, bowing to each other, shaking each other's hands, and being on that beautiful land. So there are people here that's going to be there, and
Monica, we want you to be there.
Yeah,
we see your notes.
we get, it's going to be, remember that webcast. Anyway, shall we do a little?
Yes, let's do a bit of practice. And so I invite you just to loosen up your body, and we're going to do an earth meditation, integration with earth. So wherever you are, if you are able to lie down and still hear my voice, that would be great. So I'll give you a moment now to perhaps lie down on the floor if that's comfortable, or a couch, a sofa. Maybe get a pillow or two. I'll give you a moment. And if you're staying at your computer, if you're staying seated, really just let your body be relaxed in its seat. Notice where you're holding tension, that you can just relax so that you're very comfortably where you are sitting. And perhaps now, if you're lying down, letting yourself relax into this position. So this practice is an integration with earth practice, which is quite ancient to the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, which we learned directly from Lama Sutram. So let's begin. If you'd like to close your eyes, you could do that. Coming into awareness of your breath. Almost letting your breath relax your body a bit more. So letting tensions release. We so often hold our bodies in tension as though we had to hold ourselves together in ways that are actually unnecessary. So release the tensions in your body, the ways you hold yourself together that you can release now, let go. And I invite you to feel all those parts of your body that are touching the ground. If you're lying down, feel all those parts, the back of your head and shoulders. Your pelvis, your legs, heels. If you're sitting, notice which parts of your body are on the ground. Let your awareness just sink into these parts of your body that are touching earth, touching ground. And release a bit more into this ground, into earth. Almost as though you're getting a little heavier. The way animals sometimes get heavier when they're sleeping on your feet. Let yourself be like that with the earth. Give yourself into the ground. And whatever tensions you notice in your body, imagine that they very slowly sink through your body into the ground, into the earth. there begins to be a seamlessness between your body and earth. And you might become aware of other sensations. The sound of my voice, sense of touch, smells, things you see with open or closed eyes. Whatever comes in through your perceptions, let those perceptions gently move through your body, sinking down through your body, into the ground, into the earth. You may become aware of thoughts moving through your mind. As you notice a thought, let that too very easily, like a leaf falling from a tree, glide through your body into the ground, into the earth. Let thoughts become earth. And so too with emotions. If you're feeling something particularly right now, anxiety, sadness, joy, peacefulness, whatever you feel as you notice it, let the feeling too gently move through your body into ground, into earth. Let feelings become earth. And so whatever moves through your experience, sensations, thoughts, feelings, emotions, whatever arises, notice it and let it move through your body into ground, into earth. Let awareness itself be as earth. So there is no journey between awareness and earth. Let awareness be as earth. Rest deeply here as earth. And as earth, feel the vastness of awareness. Deep, rich, radiant. And here, as awareness is earth, become aware of yourself as earth, as all beings. From the depths of earth, let your awareness be the trees, be the mountains, be the oceans and the lakes, be the rivers, and the birds, and the four-legged ones, and the six- and eight-legged ones, the two-legged ones, all beings. And from here we can send blessings and love in whatever way feels right to you, to all of earth, all her beings. Gratitude, blessings. So we never need to move from this awareness as earth. Maintain this connection, this vast awareness, even as you bring your everyday consciousness into the body that you call home. And perhaps you wiggle your toes or your fingers. Begin to feel earth moving through you as you. Bring awareness to your breath. If you've had your eyes closed, open them on your own time. Become aware of the light. And if you'd like to sit up, and gently make your way back. We can find a way to close together. So if by any chance you fell asleep or are still sleeping, continue sleeping, rest well. I always love this meditation because at some point I feel like I'm able to tickle everyone's toes from underneath the earth all over where you are. So feel my loving tickle of you. And thank you. Thank you for your time with us today.
Thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to be together on this beautiful Earth Day.
Thank you to Dream for holding us once again with such grace and kindness, and wishing you much joy on this Earth Day, and look forward to being together soon. Oh, dedicate?
Dedicate.
All right, you do the dedication.
Just dedicate any and all merit from this time together, any feeling of gratitude and open-heartedness, to go out and benefit the earth and all its beings, and all beings everywhere on this day. Thank you. Emaho.
Much love. Bye-bye.
Dear Lopön Charlotte and Pieter, we really can't thank you enough for your dedication and your beautiful presence. So much wisdom, so much realness. You've really made our time together so special, and we feel always so fortunate to the opportunity to learn from you both. May your teachings continue to inspire us as we carry them forward in our daily lives. We're sending you our love and much gratitude. And to every one of you who have joined us today, we express our warm thanks for your presence and your shared commitment to the earth and all beings. May this event inspire us to take action towards healing and protecting the environment. And I also want to invite you all to share with us how you've been spending this special day. We'd love to hear about your traditions, your practices, and your reflections on the importance of honoring Mother Earth. You can share your stories on our socials and also on the Tara Mandala network. And don't forget to include images to bring your experiences to life. Whether you've been taking up gardening, going on a hike, meditating in nature, or simply spending time with loved ones, we want to see how you've been celebrating this day. And now, following the tradition, going all the way back to the time of the Buddha 2600 years ago, you have the opportunity to make an offering of dana to our teachers today. Dana is a Pali and Sanskrit word that means generosity, and offering dana creates an auspicious connection and is a beautiful expression of the interdependence between teacher and student. The links will be put into the chat in a moment. And let's continue to come together and build a community of mindful and compassionate individuals who are committed to creating a more just and sustainable world. Thank you all for being a part of this Earth Day event. And we look forward to connecting with you live again very soon, maybe tomorrow. You are all invited to join us for the Lama Life livestream event with Lopön Charlotte Rotterdam and Gina McCarthy. Thank you.